Greetings, pod bug person 01532771. Thank you for being punctual, as always, to your daily operating system update. Today's patch will patch out the old, outdated body type called fit body and replace it with what women really prefer, the dad bod. And once we install this patch, you'll agree that it's the dad bod, the flabby soft body, which is preferred by people, and not chiseled abs and hard muscles. No, that's outdated, so we're going to go ahead and patch that right out of your system. Hey folks, hope you guys are having a great day. If you have been seeing something like this, you're not alone. Majority of people prefer dad bods to more toned body shapes. What you're experiencing when you see this, published by many different journalistic outlets, is a kind of attempted social programming. I'm going to break down the three ways and the three different techniques that they use to try to convince people that reality is something different from what it is. Because if we just look at the dad bod as an example, those of you who've spent any time out in the real world know that saying that the dad bod is preferred over a fit body is just frankly in rebellion against the evidence of your senses. If you have spent any time as a man, certainly you know that it's not true that women prefer a dad bod over a fit body. It's just not reality. But here's the three big techniques. This is from one of the articles on my blog, so you can check that out at dvspress.com. The three big techniques are narrative saturation, fake science, and demonization of the normal. And I'm going to go through each of those three things in turn to talk about how they do these. So the first one is narrative saturation. This basically is where all the newspapers will talk about the same thing within a very short amount of time, especially with a social issue. This is something that is not pressing news. It's not like a bomb went off in Beirut. Of course, everybody's going to talk about it. This is a social issue like what is attractive to women? What is attractive to men? Men are now attracted to fat women. Women are now attracted to fat men. People are going to eat bugs in the future. People need to live in pods in the future. These are things which aren't current news, but all the newspapers are going to talk about them at the same time. That's part of narrative saturation. If you go back and if you've paid any attention to, Gamergate from years ago, it's not limited to games journalists, but they basically have a private chat where they all decide to talk about the same thing at the same time. And this is really how it's going to operate in the majority of journalistic outlets all over the world, but certainly here in the West. So they're going to talk about the same thing at the same time. Now, one of the reasons that they have to talk about the same thing at the same time is because of social media and the noise involved with social media. It's very hard to get people's attention. So you all have to talk about it at the same time so that somebody somewhere is going to see this misinformation and assume that because it's coming from a journalistic source, a newspaper, an authority on information, that it's in fact true. You're also going to have, say, blue check marks on Twitter, talk about it constantly. They'll link an article either to their newspaper or to another newspaper. They're all going to talk about it at the exact same time. So somebody somewhere is going to see that information and want to interact with it and is going to start to think that it is real. So you have to saturate the narrative to cut through the noise. Now, this happened in the past prior to internet, but it became ever more important to really focus it in a gated amount of time, like 1 week, 1 month. Everybody was talking about people eating bugs last year. It was the big thing. Everybody was talking about people sleeping in pods a year and a half ago. They talk about it all at the same time so that everybody is going to get a little dose of that misinformation. Everybody that's on social media is going to see it somewhere, somehow. Number two, the second technique is fake science. We're talking about fake news, but fake science is part of this. And I call it fake science because it masquerades as science. It pretends to use the techniques of science to deal with something that is ultimately not scientific and to come to a conclusion which is really in rebellion against reality. The point of science is to figure out the nature of reality and have predictive models that allow us to see how reality is going to act before things happen. So a physics equation that determines, how much the friction of the air is going to slow down an object that's traveling through space, whatever you're looking at there, that is to predict how things are going to act in the future. It's really important to know all of these things how much gravity is going to affect the trajectory of an object in space if you're trying to shoot something into space. But when we're talking about what women find attractive, we are moving out of that hard scientific realm and into something a lot softer. If we're talking about in the future, people will have to eat bugs, you're relying on outdated Malthusian theories about, animal agriculture, running out of resources. All that sort of stuff is really more emotional and more ideological. It's not in the scientific realm. So the fake science, the first thing they'll use is surveys. So I'm sure they surveyed some group of people and they answered maybe that they found the dad bod more attractive than the fit bod. Now, you could frame it 100 different ways so that somebody would not find it attractive. So if you were to show like a Mr. Olympia bodybuilder, like flexing his butt off, completely shredded to the bone, 300 pounds of muscle, that's actually not an attractive image to most women. Doesn't mean women are not into big buff dudes, but that presentation of the body is not one that women are going to find attractive. You're like, you find that attractive? Or here's a dude that is, less cut. And you're like, I like the less cut guy, I guess. Oh, that proves it. It's dad bods. There's nothing scientific about that. It's a very narrowly framed choice that is going to lead people to the conclusion that you want to get to. Because, of course, if you spend any time in reality, women like a fit body more than they like a flabby body, all other things considered. Doesn't mean if you have a dad bod, you can't attract a woman, because women are attracted to more than just the shape of a man's body. Likewise, if you're not a super fit woman, it doesn't mean that you can't attract a man. Men are attracted to things other than the size of women's breasts, and they're going to care more about an actual human being and what qualities are there besides just their body arrangement. Okay, I shouldn't have to say that, but you should always have that knowledge there. But all things being equal, women are going to prefer the fit body. Men are going to prefer a more classically attractive female body with lower body fat. That's just the way that it is. The other thing that you'll get with fake science is experts. So they'll bring an expert on. Climate expert says this. You just leapfrog over the whole, here's the presentation of the evidence. Here's how we interpreted it. Here's why we're coming up with a predictive model that says this. You just skip all that because people are dumb and they don't want to deal with processing that much information. That's why we have the expert. The expert will just tell us what to think because he's already done all the calculations. Experts are usually wrong, right? If we look at historically, experts are wrong. In fact, science, once it becomes outdated, the past scientific view is simply invalid. So the idea that science is correct is not true in and of itself, because science is a process, not a thing which can be correct or incorrect. But experts will come out and tell you this is what you should think. You just leapfrog over the evidence, and people just think that that's the way it is. I don't have time to process the data. The expert says that we're going to have to eat bugs in the future, and therefore that's what's going to happen. We're going to have to eat bugs in the future. And if you don't agree with that, then you don't believe the science, and the science isn't settled, which brings me to the third technique, which is demonizing the normal. So especially with social issues like this, if you look at fat acceptance, it's not just that you're going to try to tell people that a fat body is an attractive and healthy one. You're also going to demonize not just the people who disagree with you, but the thing that you're trying to oppose itself. So you're going to have lots of people call women who have an attractive body skinny bitch. You're going to have a bunch of articles about how Adele losing weight is a really bad thing and makes everybody think that you can't be healthy and fat. I remember these articles. When Adele lost a bunch of weight, there was a bunch of hit pieces on Adele for losing the weight. You demonize the normal. When she went back down to a healthier body fat percentage, it became a demonization of her. She became somehow evil or betraying whatever fat movement they have to have a healthier body weight, rather than saying, well, good for her. She slimmed down to a good healthy body weight and she looks really good. That's the normal response to somebody altering their body and becoming healthier is good for them. They improve their health, or they improve their level of attractiveness. Those are not bad things. But you demonize anybody that loses weight, because that's part of fat acceptance. You bring out the examples of here's the horrible person who lost weight and ended up with an eating disorder or something. It's like, I don't want to have an eating disorder. I better eat another helping of cake. No, it's okay to go on a diet and lower your body fat percentage, of course. And you're going to also demonize anybody that disagrees. So if I come out and I say, this is ridiculous, of course, women prefer muscular, low body fat men to flabby men. This shouldn't even be a point of contention. I'm now fat phobic and evil for saying that. If you point out the reality of some social thing where it's like, of course, this is what men are attracted to. Of course, this is the way gender is. Of course, this is the way men and women act towards each other. And this is what you can expect. You're evil for doing that. You're racist, transphobic, bigot, whatever it's going to be called. They'll attack you, maybe try to get you fired. That's where cancel culture comes in. If you dissent from whatever opinion is being promoted through these techniques, then you're going to be a demon. You're going to be an evil person, and you're going to need to be wiped clean from the face of the earth. So normal people will be subjected to cancel culture too, but usually they're going to make examples out of people. You're going to demonize anybody who has a normal opinion or who represents the normal way of things. Somebody who has a normal body fat percentage, somebody who has a normal lifestyle is evil, die cis scum, that kind of stuff. So that's all demonization of the normal. Now I use the dad bod as an example, not because, I think the dad bod is evil. Like I said, most people have more to their life than their body arrangement, but because it's just in such open rebellion against reality. So whatever this survey is and however they constructed it to try to come to this conclusion, I guarantee you it won't replicate if you try to do it again or you do it with a different set of models that more approximate what women are actually attracted to. Just look at romance novels. If you Google romance novels and just see a big freaking list of romance novels and seeing what's there, like I put one up on my blog right here, what do you see? Do you see a bunch of dad bods, or do you see a bunch of chiseled abs, muscles, symmetrical features, masculine features? No, you're going to see attractive, fit bodies because that's what women are attracted to. That's what they want to click on. I like this one with Colonel Sanders, though. That's pretty funny. That's what is going to click there. So if you have marketed a book or you've bothered to look into romance novels, you'll see there's hundreds of thousands of more data points pointing towards what women in general are going to click on because they're the ones who are usually reading these kinds of romance novels. They're going to be, all things considered, more attracted to the fit body absent of other things than the dad bod. That's just reality. Now you could test this for yourself. Take a romance novel, make a cover with a dad bod, make a cover with a fit bod. See which one gets more clicks, more sales, more click-throughs. Any book marketer worth their spit would be like, you're wasting your time doing that because the one with the abs is going to blow it away 1,000,000,000 to 1. And they'd be right, because this has been tested so many times that it's almost not worth mentioning. It's like knowing that lifting weights builds muscle. You've had so many people test it for so long, even questioning it is probably a waste of time. It's called conventional wisdom for a reason there, okay? So those are the 3 techniques, and that's the attempt at social programming that happens. Now I call it attempted because it's very difficult to reprogram people's biology. Now it will work on some people, and some people will start to think maybe the dad bod's attractive, or the worst thing is that if you have the dad bod, you'll think women find it attractive. Then you're in trouble because then your perception and your model for reality doesn't actually match reality. But that doesn't actually matter, because if they can get people to pretend that reality is different from what it is, it's almost like reality is different from what it is. If nobody speaks out and says that women find this kind of body more attractive than this one, then your experience of reality is that women don't find that body more attractive because you're not going to be receiving any information that conflicts with that. So it's difficult to reprogram biology, but you can pretend to such a hard degree that people can actually experience the new reality that you've tried to patch in there. And I call it like an operating system patch, because we have an operating system, we have a predictive model for how reality works, and you just sort of patch that in with new information using those techniques. And people will start to act as if that is reality, that it's okay if I don't have chiseled abs, or like if I want to be as attractive as possible, I don't really need to worry about abs. If you're trying to maximize your attractiveness, lowering your body fat as a man is probably the best thing to do. Sorry, that's just how it is. So thanks so much, people. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you want to see and hear in the future. I hope that this patch has gone through and there's no errors. So you will happily write down in the comments that you find flabby to be far more attractive than fit. I'll see you next time for your next patch. Farewell, pod bug people of the planet. Oh, we're not calling it Earth. Well, that's the next patch. That's the next patch. We're going to rename it. Earth is transphobic. Misogynistic.